Christian martyr, to me, is someone who gets shot, right?
Okay.
To me, a Muslim martyr is someone who has a gun. If you look at the poorest countries, they've always been religious. You get the Catholic island, which was dirt poor. You get the Middle East. You look at absolute religious countries,
Yes.
and they're all in poverty.
Okay. There has to be something objective that challenges our subjectivity.
Yes.
Otherwise, subjectivity built today, should I hang a rainbow flag or not hang a rainbow flag? Should I allow this in my church or not allow this in my church? Everything becomes subjective.
There's a problem I have because I'm trying to process what you're saying. And what you seem to be saying to me is that everyone has their own experience of this divine being.
Yes.
And essentially you can do whatever you will as long as you're trying to do your best.
No,
Okay.
because the more you meditate, or the more you, it comes naturally.
What comes naturally?
The right way of living comes naturally.
If the right way of living were a natural process through experience, why did this consciousness communicate with anyone to start with? Why not allow us to come to this experience naturally? Why send any message? Why send Jesus or the Prophet Muhammad?
That might be the end goal.
What might be the end goal?
People coming to it naturally. That might be the end goal.
But that's the question
we're still
I'm asking.
On the way. We're still on the path.
But Bill, this is what I'm asking you. If this is something that we can come to naturally ourselves, just through our experience,
yeah.
then why send Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or Jesus, peace be upon him? Why do that in the first place? Because that's an opposite thing, right? The reason you send a messenger is because you need people to get the message. If people can come up with a message themselves, they don't need to be sent a messenger.
I think it reinforces. I think they come to reinforce what's inside us.
Can I tell you something very amazing? Have you heard of something called the fitrah?
The which?
The fitrah. So in Islam, where I'm a Muslim, we believe that we have a part of us is something called the fitrah. This is our understanding, our compass that points towards us as a spiritual being seeking the Creator.
Can I hold on to that?
Yeah, you can.
Minute?
You feeling dizzy?
Just a bit.
Yeah, hold my hand. You can hold my hand.
Right.
Feeling a bit dizzy, right?
Well, I've just got off a plane.
Okay, no problem. If you need to sit down,
It's nice and
if you need to sit down.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, just hold my hand. Now, if you can hold this brother's hand, he's standing next to you. Okay.
Righto.
Okay. We don't want you falling over or hurting yourself.
No.
Yeah? So, if we have this thing inside us called the fitrah, and this is an inclination towards the Creator. That's part of our nature. So we are a spiritual being that seeks the worship of the one God, who we know is not the creation, and this is something natural within us. The messengers and the prophets, they come to awaken this natural disposition and to take us away from worshipping the nature around us, whether that be a man called Jesus, peace be upon him, or whether that's a tree, whether that's the moon or the stars or a statue. When the messengers come, they bring us back. They awaken this natural thing inside of you.
That's right.
Absolutely. So what you're saying, some of the concepts you hold are very much in line with the Islamic understanding of the human being.
Of course they are.
But there's one issue though. And the issue is that we can only know what our purpose is through the message that the divine gives to the messengers. So you can't do it, no one can go off willy-nilly and make up their own way and make the claim, this is my experience. So otherwise everyone can end up in different places, and that's a misguidance. And that would be unfair for God to just leave you to roam around in the dark wildly, trying to find your way. And this is a reason for sending the messengers, because they are light onto the darkness. They bring you out of spiritual.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
This is why even in the New Testament, Jesus says he's the light. Right? The light. He shows the way. The Prophet Muhammad was showing the way. He shows us the way to the Creator. He shows us how to live your life, what that messenger has said.
It just amazes me that Jewish people and Christian people and Muslim people fight like they do.
Oh,
it just amazes me.
Yeah.
Amazes me.
Yeah. But what I'm concerned, I agree with you. It's horrible what's happening around the world. But for you as an individual, Bill, there's a duty upon you to try and seek this Creator, and to make sure that what you're doing in terms of living your life and where you're headed is in accordance with what this Creator wants. Now, from what I see, and forgive me if I'm misrepresenting you, but just from our conversation, I feel that you're not certain about the requirement of there being the need to follow that messenger, follow that prophet that came. Now, the prophet.
I'd rather find my own way.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I'm saying. If everyone were doing this, then everyone would end up in a different place, potentially.
Not necessarily.
Potentially. And I'll give you an example. We have people in Indian subcontinent who go to a big building and they're worshipping snakes, or they're worshipping rats. You go to South America, there are people in history who are killing children and men on a daily basis, sacrificing to the sun.
That's right.
So that if you look around the world and you look around at human and cultural experience and human history, what you see is that people have often ended up in the wrong place. Because why? They were finding their own way. And this is why the messengers come.
I get that. That's true.
And so what I would be saying to you,
it's finding your own way within that pathway. It's walking in the footsteps of the messengers. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's the best way.
I agree with you. How do we walk in the footsteps of the messengers?
How can I put it? I work a lot with people in trouble, right? And often I will see the very people that Jesus worked with. And it takes me back to that time, so that you suddenly realise time means nothing. You suddenly realise that there are people who you're not even worthy to tie their shoelaces, and those people you follow.
So I'm going to ask. I understand what you've said. I appreciate that, and I thank you for the work that you're doing. I think is valuable. The question, because you're working with the vulnerable in society, but the question I'm asking you really is, you said that we have to follow in the footsteps of the messengers.
Yeah.
So the only question now is, how do we know? How do we determine?
We don't. We know. We know through experience.
But what are you? So this is the question. If it was, because we're going in a little bit of a circle, but I'm going to try and sort of clarify that. If it's our experience for every individual here that leads you to whichever path is the right path, then what's the need for sending any messengers? Whether it's the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or Jesus, peace be upon him, because it's in you.
See, Islam concentrates a lot on social order. Right?
That's one of the facets.
The key things.
Yeah.
Social order.
Yeah.
Christianity has a lot of guilt.
Yes.
So
the original sin.
They're different. They're different paradigms.
Yeah.
And it's often like a Christian martyr. To me, is someone who gets shot. Right.
Okay.
To me, a Muslim martyr is someone who has a gun. I would. I don't know if that's true.
That's not true.
I don't. But there's Christian martyrs. I don't know. I could be terribly wrong with that. But to me, the reality of all that is puts all that's written into dust.
Okay. So, Bill, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to...
we got to finish.
Yeah, I'm just going to wind up. I can see that. So what I'm going to say is that the reason that God sends messengers is to give people that information that you can walk in the footsteps of the messengers, so that you can do what the Creator wants you to do on the earth, fulfill your purpose.
Yes.
It's on your own, without any guidance from the Creator, that would be unjust to put you here and to make you
Oh,
feel.
I know.
So what I'm inviting you to, and this is an invitation, this is a conversation invitation. You don't need to do this on your own. You're not on your own. The messengers have come. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has come. We have verified information from him, the Quran. We have verified information of his own explanation of this, the Hadith, that explains that what you need to do is worship the one God without worshipping the creation. And you follow in the footsteps of the messenger, and this is the route to your salvation. Part of that is the social order. Part of that is treating your neighbors well. Part of that is, the Prophet peace be upon him said that if you don't show mercy to mankind, then the one will not show mercy to you. So this is part of our being, is that we have to be of a service to the community.
Yep.
So, but if you're on your own, trying to find your own way and telling other people, because you're a minister, telling other people that just go your own way and you will find the way.
Oh, well, you don't do it like that.
Good. I'm glad.
You don't do it like
Good.
that.
I'm glad. But I'm saying seek that information and actually read more about Islam.
Oh,
You seem to accept a lot about the Islam from your way that you're
I don't have any
describing
problem
things.
with Islam.
Good.
No, I don't have any problem.
So can we give you some information to go away with so you can read? Or?
No, I got heaps.
Are you sure?
I got heaps, yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Do
Bill.
you have a
Thank
copy
you,
of the
guys.
Quran? Do you have a copy of the
I've
Quran?
got all that,
Okay,
yeah.
lovely.
A
Bill-
long time ago, I was going to Alexandria to learn
Okay.
Arabic, to
Oh, nice.
read it, because they always used to tell me
Nice.
to read the Quran in Arabic, because all the other people turn it all around, you know.
Bill, can we get?
What's
Can
the
we
brother's
get?
name?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill. Bill, you know, you said something very interesting there about, one has many rules, i.e. Islam, and on the other side, it seems a lot easier in terms of, faith and belief and these type of things. But Bill, the important thing really is not the number of rules or how stringent they are or they appear to be, but where they've come from.
Yes.
You see, if you know where it comes from,
Yes.
you don't need the rules, because
Well,
you live them anyway.
Bill, you see, the thing here is this. If that were true,
Yeah.
you see, look, if that approach were true, then most reasonable or sensible people would be able to decipher the reality of living.
Oh, yeah.
But the point is, Bill, we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so therefore, as Imran has explained, that there has to be something objective that challenges our subjectivity.
Yes.
Otherwise, subjectivity, Bill, today, should I hang a rainbow flag or not hang a rainbow flag? Should I allow this in my church or not allow this in my church? Everything becomes subjective. And often, Bill, what you'll find is the ones creating the greatest level of influence in changing those things are not godly in the first place. And the people who are godly are being influenced by the ungodly to adapt and change their own outlook on things and their practices.
And that's called life, real life.
And
You have to work it out for yourself.
but Bill, the thing is this, that if we were truly to adopt that principle, then we wouldn't need laws, for example, to govern our societies. The reason why we have laws, even in societies where we might have 99% literacy, and we may have.
I get that.
You understand my point?
I get your point.
Yes.
But that's a very black and white world.
Well, I think when it comes to having knowledge or not having knowledge, is somewhat of a black and white issue. So, for example, if I have no knowledge about hot drinks can burn me,
Yeah,
the chances are, Bill, I'm probably going to get burnt before I learn that lesson.
I get that.
Right?
I get that. What I'm saying is that as soon as you get laws,
Yes.
right, you get lawyers, and they work out ways around it. And it has to come from within your heart.
Yeah, you've got to be sincere, Bill. We agree.
But is it better to have no laws then?
No, I'm not saying that.
So-
I'm saying it's better to have laws than nothing.
Of course. So look, Bill, what does God expect you to do? He expects you to use your faculty of reason and intelligence and look at those laws and look at the people who are let's say, propagating or educating you about those laws and making your best
I would
assessment.
say God expects me
Yes.
to be the best person I can be.
Yes.
Full stop.
According to whose teachings, though?
Would you agree that it's according to the purpose He created you for?
Well, you don't kill, you don't steal, you don't... Because those things fall away.
But whose teachings do you adopt to follow in the best possible way to accomplish the best type of life that you can lead in this world?
Well, I would
And the
say
hereafter.
I would say those permeate through all religions. They permeate through all religions because they just do. They just do. If you and I, like, oh, I know, we cannot discover who we are on our own. We can only discover who we are
I agree.
looking in the eyes of other people.
I agree.
It's a collective thing.
Yes.
And that's how we discover who we are. And through that, you get some of the other teachings as well. But that's...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When we say finding our way and all religions have aspects or teachings in order for us to accomplish that goal,
I'm not saying all religions.
Okay.
I'm saying
within reason,
Within reason.
can two things that are contradictory both be correct?
Like what?
So, for example, if all of the prophets of God Almighty say that God is one, God is absolute, God is without partner, God is without image, without statue, God is all-knowing, is all-powerful. If now somebody was to come to me and they said, well, my God actually...
You see, there's a problem with that.
Yes.
Because God can't be all-loving and all-powerful. Because there's so much tragedy in the world.
Yes.
There is so much tragedy in the world
Yes.
that if God is all-powerful,
Yes.
God could remove it and doesn't.
Unless there's a reason for that.
And if God was all-powerful, God could remove it. If God was all-loving, then it kind of is
Let me
different.
ask you a question then. Can an act that is perceived to be harsh or perceived to be unloving actually have a greater benefit that you or I might not be aware of?
Of course.
Right. So therefore, our judgment on things that we perceive to be harsh or unloving could actually be loving and be good for the person or that community. Would you agree?
It could be.
Right.
It could
So
be.
now the point would arise, how would I be able to establish that as a reality?
Because of the difference between chaos and peace.
No, I would say the way that you would establish that as a reality is if the Creator Himself told you that it may be that you may love or covet a thing that is harmful and bad for you, and it may be that you dislike a certain thing that is in fact good for you. So now...
Oh, that happens all the time.
Absolutely. So now the point is that our perception of reality, of good, of bad, of moral, of immoral, when it's linked to the one that created us and gave us that information, he is best versed to establish...
You got to be careful there. That's how totalitarian states start.
Well-
if you look at the poorest countries, they've always been religious. You get the Catholic Island, which was dirt poor. You get the Middle East. You look at absolute religious countries,
Yes.
and they're all in poverty.
Okay. But now you've made an assumption.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Bill, surely you don't believe that God is not all powerful or the most loving?
All-knowing.
I'm just saying that's the big dichotomy that's never been sorted out. If God is all loving, God can't be all powerful. And if God's all powerful, God can't be all loving.
This is, Bill, the classic atheist argument against the existence of God. It's just, do you understand that?
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing actually
Yeah.
about all loving?
Yeah.
People confuse perfection in love by never punishing.
Oh, that's
You understand my point?
yeah.
Those are not contradictory.
But you punish yourself.
No, but
You punish
just
yourself.
hear me out, Bill. So when
You
people
don't need somebody telling you.
when people say that God is perfectly loving to his creation, perfectly means that he will allocate the perfection of his love upon his creation. People assume, therefore, there can never be anything that I might perceive to be harsh, because that would somehow dictate or mean that God is not perfectly loving.
Like, we're really scratching at the edges.
No, but what
because it's really this is why there's so many conundrums, and people are always looking for the perfect way, the perfect thing, when there's so many.
Well, can I build on my question?
We don't need hell because we live in it now.
Can I ask you a question, Bill?
Yeah.
Do you believe in heaven and hell?
Not like I don't. You judge yourself, like
But you're a
when
Christian,
you
Bill, you're a Christian.
Yeah, I know. But when somebody dies, right?
What happens?
When let me put it this way: the greatest regrets people have when they die is they haven't said the loving things to the people they want to say it to.
I understand.
That's the greatest regret people have.
I would say there's a greater one.
Well, and
Can I tell you what that one is?
what?
The greatest regret for the believers, or for anyone, is to die in disbelief, knowing that when the angel of death comes to take your soul, that the life that you led was not in accordance to the wishes of your Creator. And this is why
God can read
and
your
this is
soul
why,
anyway.
Bill, we're told that on the day of judgment, Allah says that when the people are being judged, they will bite their hands to their fists to their bones in regret.
You see,
So for
I
us-
see
for-
that.
For us, that's
I
the,
see
that's the biggest
that
thing.
as a warning for now, not for then. That's
what it is.
That's a
Yeah,
warning.
of course.
That's saying
Can I give you- I'm gonna
clear
bring
your
this up.
act out now.
Ben, I'm just going to go. I'll be
Yeah,
just 2
I'll
minutes.
disappear.
He's got to pray.
I'll disappear.
I've already
it's time
prayed.
to go.
But Bill,
God
look,
bless
you know
you.
what?
Do you
It's nice
know
to speak to you,
Ahmadiyya Muslim people? Ahmadiyya?
Imran had a conversation with them yesterday online.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
I have a bit to do with them.
We don't actually believe that they're Muslims.
I know that.
Yes. And they don't believe that we're Muslims either.
I know.
Yes. And the reason for that is that we believe as 8% of the Muslim population of the world, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, explained quite explicitly that he is the last messenger and there is none to come after him. And so for anyone...
Yeah, well, I have difficulties with that too. Like, I'm not saying it mightn't be true,
Yeah.
but I have difficulties with that.
You know what I would say to you, Bill? You know, in life, Bill, any decision that we make, it's a question of balance of probability. You bought a very nice jacket. There is a reason why you bought that jacket. You may have done a little bit of research online to acquire information in order to save yourself from harm. What would the harm be? Number one, it wouldn't do its job. You'd get cold. You'd be talking to an old man at Speaker's Corner like myself, right? A young man like you, right? And it wouldn't do its job, right? There could be a harm in wasting money. So to protect and mitigate that harm, you did a bit of research and you went with the balance of probability. Now, there may be better jackets out there that would cost less than this. But in life, our decision making is based primarily on balance of probability.
Yeah.
Now, when I look at the Quran, I look at its preservation, I look at its grammatical construct and the miraculous nature, the inimitability challenge of the Quran. And I'm now convinced, on balance of probability, that the overwhelming evidence is that this is from God and it is preserved, then it would be illogical, I would say, for me, to accept anything else in its place. Now, does that mean...
question
now,
I
Bill,
would
no,
have
hold on,
is-
Bill. Does that mean that I'll get everything right? No. Does that mean that I might interpret certain things incorrect? Of course.
Yeah.
But God does not
But
expect
the
me to be
question
perfect.
I would have is,
Yeah.
is it all from God, or is some of it from Muhammad's mind?
That's a very good
See,
question.
that's
That's a very good... So now
where-
how would we establish the reality of either it being completely from God, or possibly some of it being, or all of it being from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him? So now if we look at a very interesting discussion that Professor Angelica Newith had with another professor about the fact that the linguistics within the Quran itself, the language itself, is distinctively different from the hadith, the words of the
Yeah,
Prophet Muhammad,
yeah,
peace be upon him.
Yeah.
So much so that as a non-Arab, when I hear the Quran, or I hear the hadith, or I hear Arabic, I can differentiate without even understanding Arabic. I can differentiate the Quran from the words of the Prophet Muhammad, or normal Arabic as it's spoken. So now what she argued is that the linguistic grammatical rules of the Quran are actually unique to the Quran itself. And therefore, again, balance of probability.
Where's it come from? I know.
Balance
I
of
get
probability,
that.
right?
I get that.
The overwhelming evidence shows that it's a unique text. It's
Yeah.
the first book in the Arabic language.
Yep.
It became the very principles and the eloquent rules of the
I get
Quran
all
became the standard of Arabic.
Yep.
From where did it come? A man in the desert in the 7th century who was known to be illiterate by his people, who was a shepherd and just known
Get all
for
that.
his good character and good behavior.
I get all that.
So on balance of probability, the question that I would now have to ask is, how did the Prophet Muhammad, if it was his work or the work of other people, come up with a text?
Yeah, I know. It's a mystery. It's a
I
divine
would
mystery.
say the mystery is to such an extent that to accept any other possibility other than it coming from God, for me, is really just an absurdity.
I get
Yeah.
that. I understand that, and I'll say as well that with Jesus, right?
Peace be upon him.
You look at what happened. He more or less came from a nowhere too.
Yes, of
out
course.
of nowhere,
As did Moses.
and probably couldn't even read, and but the awareness is phenomenal.
Of course, and we believe that. But the reason
I know.
the reason why we believe that, because we believe that God sent him.
Yeah,
And we believe that God empowered him
yeah.
and nourished him and nurtured him
Yeah.
to be the best of the prophets were the best of all that were ever created. We believe that. Absolutely. That's why our stories of Abraham, of Noah, are very different from what the biblical stories are in terms of incest or other things, or killing your brother to take his wife. And we don't have these stories in the Quran because we believe that Allah nurtured them in a way whereby they did not commit any serious offense, to the extent, Bill, that you or I, God forbid, would even consider to do some of the things that the Bible attributes to the
So
prophets.
what do you guys do during the week?
The brother you were speaking to for Imran, he's a doctor.
Is he?
He's a GP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you?
I'm just a driver. I just drive for a living.
Right.
I'm not anything special at all. He's a special one. And I'm trying to do something
Interesting.
different now. Yeah.
Very good. I work with a Muslim doctor
Okay.
in Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got so much in my head.
Yeah.
I have to go away and think now.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you.
There's a little gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
That's our card and our details.
right.
So if you want to contact us online, we can
right.
have a discussion. We can
Probably
send-
this will be enough.
Well,
I'll give you my card.
Hopefully not. Hopefully
You can-
we'll continue
you can
our
look
discussion.
Me up on Google.
But brother Bill, one thing I would say to you before our eyes shut for the last time, before we are transitioned from this life to the hereafter, do your utmost best to verify what we've said to you today. And if you find that it's truthful, Bill, then accept it. That's what we would hope for you. That's what we would wish for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Bill.
There's truth in all of it.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
And I will. I'll take it away. I'll give him the card too. Where'd he go?
He's just finished praying.
Just there.
Excuse me, doctor. Sorry, Sheikh.
I'll give you.
Bill would
look
like
me
to.
up. You can look me up on Google.
We can.
It's nice talking to you.
It really
Nice
was.
talk.
All the best. Yeah.
I work with a Muslim doctor in Sydney, in Australia. But look me up on Google.
We will do.
But Bill, everything we said to you was
Out of love.
sincerity and
Out of
care
love.
for you, yeah?
I'm on what's called the Faith Affairs Council
Oh, lovely.
in Australia, which is really being tested to the limit at the moment with all the stuff that's going on.
Right.
You know, yeah. Nice to
Bill, it was
Well, you take
really a
care.
pleasure. And sorry the conversation
Can we
went up
get
so
you
long.
Can we get you a coffee or a tea or anything like that?
No, I'll just go off now and
Okay, you take
think.
care of yourself. Okay?
I've got a
Billy, do you want to raise? Do you want the rucksack lifted to your shoulder there?
Thank
Look
you.
at that tea. That's how.
Thank you.
Take it.
Thank you,
Bill,
guys.
nice to speak to you.
Nice to speak to you.
All right then.
See, one of the things I learned
Yeah.
was you say what you don't want to go to your deathbed not having said.
Yeah. I agree with 100%.
That's you're really special.
No, I appreciate that.
Really
But you take care.
special.
Nice to speak to you. Okay?
Bill, it was really nice to speak to you.